I used to think that by the time I was 30, I would be gone. I'm 32 now. I'd never imagined having to make plans for the rest of my life. A mixture of chronic disease and a lack of direction in my life, and the world narrative led me to think that things just would end at some point. I was told that the world is fucked. Pollution will ruin the planet. The crops will stop growing. There will be overpopulation and no food to go around. So I withdrew and thought about video games instead. There's no point thinking about the future, I thought, only the now. But now time has caught up with me. Tomorrow always comes. And throughout my teens and my 20s, this was my dominant way of thinking. I never thought about the future. The future just wasn't worth thinking about. It's all doom and gloom, I thought. I won't make it. So today I want to talk about the things that I would have done differently if I had today's brain in yesterday's body. First of all, I would try harder. I'd try harder in school. I'd try harder in work. I'd try harder for my future. For the most part, I floated through school not really trying because all I cared about was hanging out with my friends and playing video games. My grades meant nothing to me. The word going around school is that GCSEs are pointless anyway. They mean nothing. Employers don't care about them. All they give you is an entryway into a college course. So, of course, I felt like it wasn't worth putting my energy into. I just did not care about getting GCSEs. And then when I entered the workplace, all I cared about was getting enough to pay rent, get a little bit of food, and then I didn't want to work anymore. I'd spend all of my free time playing World of Warcraft instead, and going to work any time past when I had already earned the amount of money that I needed seemed like a total waste of time. I did not try and earn money for the next month or the month after that or get any savings. No, none of it meant anything to me. All that mattered was that I had money in the now. I had enough for today, and that's all I cared about. There's a saying one of my friends has that he tells his kids, and I really like it, and this is something that I would follow myself. Easy choices, hard life. Hard choices, easy life. And I definitely fall under the first. Easy choices, hard life. So what this means is if you make decisions that are easy in the moment, tomorrow will be harder. This was a constant theme throughout my teens and my 20s that I would make the easy choice. I would choose to not work. I would choose to play World of Warcraft, choose to get high, choose to drink, and choose not to work for my tomorrow. And then tomorrow would inevitably come around and I would be back with zero in my bank account and starting all over. I never had anything built up, and it was always a hard tomorrow. But instead I would then make the hard decisions. Put money away, work more hours, and then the next day would be slightly easier. There would be something saved. There would be something left over, and it would be slightly easier. And over time this could compound. As I make more harder choices as time goes on, more of an easy life presents itself as a possibility. I'd also tell myself that the way that you feel right now won't last forever. Entering my 20s was bookmarked by a diagnosis of a lifelong chronic disease, ulcerative colitis. This was already compounded by my already warped way of thinking back to my early teens, even my going back to when I was 10 or 11. I just had this sense of sadness around me. I couldn't really understand why, but I felt like that the future was just worrying to think about. The concept of the future would always just worry me. I was just sad. It felt like I didn't want to do anything. And video games were the only way that I could really feel comfortable and happy. And then when I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, it really felt like the future was gone. I thought that I was dying before I got my diagnosis. I was bleeding every day. I was just surrounded with pain. I couldn't do anything. 20 times plus having to run to the toilet. And the one time I did do a job, at the time I was making videos, funnily enough, My first video job was with the British Society of Immunology, and they just happened to be specialists talking about the very disease that I did not know that I had. And in between interviews that I filmed, I had to run to the bathroom to bleed. And then I'd come back and do the rest of the interview. And once that interview had done, I'd have to go back to the bathroom. But like I just said, I would tell myself that the way you feel right now won't last forever. I resorted to drinking to mask it, playing more video games, making the easy choices. But you see, ulcerative colitis is very treatable, touch wood. Don't want to jinx myself going forward, but it is very treatable. And right now, I feel fantastic, touch wood. And that feeling eventually passed, and I was able to be a healthy young man and have the ability to do things. But it was this just looming dread that controlled my life and stopped me from taking action and thinking of the future. I would also tell myself to bet on tomorrow. Make bets that double down on success for tomorrow. Tomorrow is inevitable. Today will end. And if you bet on tomorrow happening, perhaps by putting away some savings, perhaps by investing some money, or working slightly harder just to get a little bit more income, you're going to bet on tomorrow that you will be okay. And if you don't make it to tomorrow, then it didn't matter anyway. I would also tell myself that it's okay to feel lost. For most of my life, I felt lost, in fact. But through feeling lost, you explore, take action, try new things, and eventually you will find your calling, find what you want to do. It's okay to feel lost. In fact, I think it's normal to feel lost, especially in a world with not much direction and where you have to make your own direction. It's inevitable that you'll feel lost because you don't know what you want yet. So the only way to find out is by doing things. But by making the easy choice to play video games, I never discovered what my calling was. I was stuck in a state of limbo, stuck feeling lost. To follow on from that, I would tell myself to make plans. Make plans for the future. And this is something I still struggle with today because I've got such a background of suppressing this feeling. But make plans, make goals, because goals give you a direction. And if you find out that that goal wasn't worth going for in the end, or you didn't like it, then it's okay to switch. And I'd also tell myself not to regret. And I'd like to tell that to myself today. I might get caught in the trap of looking back at the time that I spent during my teens, my early 20s, going into my 30s, feeling lost, feeling directionless, not thinking about the future, and regretting it. And this is not the right approach. It's not right to regret the decisions that you made. I enjoyed a lot of those decisions. I made those decisions to retreat from the world that I was living in. And I had a great time. I really enjoyed playing games. I enjoyed hanging out with my friends. I enjoyed getting high. I enjoyed drinking alcohol. Those were good times. And I shouldn't dismiss that. They made me who I am today. They made me realise that I don't want to do that anymore. And it's sort of just a natural path of the course. When you're a young person, you want to have a good time. And I did that. So I should not regret that. I would make different decisions now going back, but I shouldn't regret the decisions that I have made. And so the only thing I can really say to you is to just learn from the decisions you've made and change your decisions going forward based on what you've learned. If you don't learn from your mistakes, you're doomed to repeat them. But if you do learn from them, you can make the hard choices and get an easier life. So that's where I'm at today. I'm trying to put in the work, make up for lost time. Maybe I won't ever make up for the lost time, but at least I'm trying. And perhaps you can join me in trying too.